Yo, back once again with another movie review. And I don't know why I did that, but yes, back once again with another movie review. I actually did a movie review last night, but I just rambled all over the place and I was so incoherent, so I'm not even gonna upload that one. Yeah, I don't even know it was just thoughts that was coming to my mind at 1,000 miles an hour. So it was just all over the place, very scatterbrained and just so disconjointed. But I'm gonna do an official movie review this time because I just got back from seeing this movie again. So I saw the movie twice now. And that movie that I'm talking about, of course, is Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. Now, as I said before, I've seen this film twice. I saw it the first time last night. And when I saw it the first time last night, I actually fell asleep, kind of fell asleep during some key parts. So there were some parts I missed. Because then when I saw it again, I'm like, I don't even remember this part right here. So I'm glad that I saw it twice because I missed out on some key things. So, yeah, I'm going to give my official review on this film. So I'm not even going to go into what, I think about everything else. I just want to focus on this movie and probably add a little bit more of my opinions and thoughts on other things related to Star Wars and what's been going on with that whole thing. So now, of course, this is the last film of the complete Star Wars saga. I guess you could say that. We're gonna get new Star Wars films, in the future, but for this, I guess you could say this saga, this is pretty much the end of it. This is pretty much the end of this era. So a lot of people was looking forward to it. A lot of people was very curious to see how this was gonna end, how this was gonna oh wow, like 3 raccoons is just walking across the street. It's crazy. But yeah, a lot of people was very curious about this film. There's been a lot of hoopla, a lot of buzz surrounding this movie for months. A lot of rumors, a lot of leaks and stuff like that. So a lot of people was very curious about this film. Of course, it's Star Wars, so it's one of the most popular movie franchises of all time. So of course, you're gonna get a lot of talks about it. So now that the movie is out, there's been a lot of mixed reactions. I'm seeing a lot more disappointments than I'm seeing people who like it. You know what I mean? A lot of diehard Star Wars fans are pretty much very disappointed with this film. They expressed their gripes and, they said there's a lot of problems in this film, which I do agree with, and I'm going to get to that. So yeah, the Star Wars fan base is pretty much a madhouse right now. It's so divided, and I don't think this film helped kind of seal that divide. It's even, I don't know if I could say it's more divided than before, but the division is still there. You still have your group of people who hates Disney Star Wars, who hates this current trilogy and what's going on with just Star Wars in general. But then you got people who still holding out hope and still optimistic and still wants to keep, just the excitement of Star Wars alive. You still have those true passionate Star Wars fans who just want to enjoy Star Wars again. So you have that going on. So it's like I said, the whole Star Wars fan base, the Star Wars communities are pretty much amok right now. It's a big mess. And that was actually one of the complaints with this film. Speaking of mess, a lot of people kept saying, oh, it's, this movie is a train wreck, it's a mess, it's like 2 movies combined into one. And let me just get into my review. What do I think of this movie? Now, when I first saw it the first time, it didn't really resonate with me. It was more so, I didn't really know what to really say about it. It was just whatever to me. I did say that it wasn't a bad film. When I walked out of it the first time, I thought it wasn't as bad as what everybody was making it out to be. I felt like it was a little bit better than what everybody else was saying, but I still felt that it had a lot of problems. You know what I mean? And now seeing it again, I actually liked it a little bit more seeing it the second time than when I saw it the first time, because I stayed awake for pretty much the whole entire movie. There are parts that kind of drag for me, that was kind of a little bit like boring or whatever, but I've stayed awake for pretty much the entirety of the film. And now seeing it for the second time, I actually missed out on some key scenes that I didn't see the first time. So that's why there was a lot of things that didn't make sense to me, that kind of, I don't think it really answered a lot of my questions, but it was key parts that I missed. So seeing it for the second time, I will say I did enjoy it a little bit more. The first 2 acts, I felt like it was pretty good. You know what I mean? As far as, I want to get into this real quick, as far as what people are saying that, oh, this movie feels like 2 movies in one, I kind of see where they got that, I kind of see why they feel that way, now seeing it twice, but to me, it doesn't feel like 2 movies in one. It feels like you could make 2 movies out of this one film. You definitely could, but I just felt like it didn't really feel like 2 movies in one. I don't really feel as strongly on that as much as other people do. There are 2 things kind of going on at one time, so I could see why people are saying that. But overall, I still think that this, as one movie, as this movie stands right now, I just feel like it's one movie. I don't really feel like it's kind of like 2 films blended into one. I would say that it just feels like one plot point is just kind of tacked on, and the other one is more solid. So I will say that. I guess I'm gonna just go into my good, my bad, and just like every other movie, and just wrap it up from there. Some of the things that I did like was the action. Of course, it's Star Wars, so the special effects and the cinematography and just how everything looked, the settings and everything, it's amazing. You know, it's very great to see, especially the last battle. Like I said, just great to see, man. And like I said, this is Star Wars, so the lightsaber battles, you know, the space battles up in space, the whole cinematography, everything was pretty much done very well done. I mean, it's backed by Disney, so Disney got, you know, tons of money and stuff like that. So it's a very, very good, very well made movie. I will say that. Something else I did like the first 2 acts of the film. You know, just the whole premise of, you know, Rey trying to find this this wayfinder so she could find, well, the wayfinder is basically like the coordinates to this unknown planet where the Emperor is, and while Rey is trying to find this wayfinder, which is the coordinates to this unknown planet, Kylo Ren is trying to hunt her down to kill her, because that's the order that he gets from Palpatine. So I did kind of like that whole, if that was like one movie, I think it would have been much better. It would have been much better. So I think as far as that goes, yeah, I think that, I mean, that's the only good, that's the only like good things I did like. This film does have some problems. It really does. There's still some things that bother me. Now, when I seen it the second time, it didn't bother me as much as when I saw it the first time, but it's still like, you know, like, man, one of my major gripes with this film is Palpatine of itself. They don't really go into much detail on how did Palpatine come back. They don't really delve into the whole backstory of how he was able to come back, how he was able to build this big, entire, gigantic army. And like the film, like they make it seem like he was playing the background this whole time. Like he was basically pulling the strings the whole time. And I'm just like, okay, I mean, I guess, you know, Last Jedi did enough damage. You got to do something to kind of like just wash your hands away from that whole mess that the Last Jedi created. So you had to do something. So I guess this is what they came up with, but still it was kind of like, it just felt so tacked on. Like the Emperor, his whole role just felt so tacked on. It felt unnecessary. Like there's no point of him being here. Like he died already. He died in the original trilogy. So why bring him back again? But like I said, they had to bring him back because they felt like, well, we got to pull something out of our ass, and hey, let's bring back the Emperor for some reason. You know what I mean? That's what it feels like. It's like they had to bring him back for some reason. Like they had to bring him back to kind of like make amends to what The Last Jedi did. And I feel like it didn't work. It just didn't work. And his whole plan just didn't make no sense at all. Didn't make no sense. Because in the beginning of the film, he's giving orders to Kylo to kill Rey. He's like, you know, go and kill Rey, and then if you kill Rey, I'm gonna give you the Empire. You're gonna be the new Emperor. You're gonna be the new Emperor now. And then when it comes towards the end, you know, he's like, oh, he wants Rey to kill him so that his I guess his essence or his spirit could go into Rey so that she could become the new Empress. And it's just like, wait, you wanted her dead, now you wanted her alive this whole time? Like, it's kind of contradictory, you know what I mean? Because in the beginning, they said out in the plane, like, look, Kylo Ren, go out and kill Rey. Like, kill her. And if you kill her, I will give you everything. I will give you this whole fleet. I will give you my army. I will give you the Empire. You will be the new Emperor of the Empire. You will control the whole galaxy. That was his whole mission in the beginning. In the beginning, that was his whole mission. And then when it comes to the end, now it's like, oh, I didn't want Rey dead. I wanted her alive. Wait, what? Like, makes no sense at all. No sense. No sense. So I feel like the last act of the movie kind of puts a big damper on the entire film as a whole. Because like I said before, the first 2 acts of the film I thought was pretty good. It was pretty solid. But then when you get to the last act, it's just like, it felt like it was tacked on. Like put it like this. I feel like what could have made the movie better was, I like the whole premise of Rey trying to find this unknown planet. And I do like the premise of Kylo Ren, you know, chasing her down, hunting her down to try to kill her. Like, I like if they would have just kept that as the main plot point, it would have been a much better movie. Because I like the first 2 acts. It was pretty good. But then when you get to the last act, it kind of just falls flat, man. And I don't know why I get why they added it, but it just felt so tacked on. It just felt like, it was just like, well, Last Jedi ruined everything, so let's come up with something. Let's come up with something more exciting. Let's come up with something more interesting. What can we do? Let's bring the Emperor back. Yeah, let's say that he was in the background the whole time. And like I said, his plans was just, it didn't make no sense at all. Like, he contradicted himself pretty much. I'm gonna get back to the whole Palpatine thing in a minute because there's some things I want to add, but I just want to get into my gripes. Another gripe that I had was Finn and Poe. I don't know what happened to Finn in this film. He's so bland. He's so generic. Same thing with Poe. Like, those 2 characters, like, especially Finn, man. Finn was like the comic relief in the first 2 films. He was he was a really funny character, man. I really liked him a lot. But in this film, they just took that out of him. They took they took what he was in the prior 2 films and just made him so generic. I don't know why. Like, they made him so serious. You know what I mean? Same thing with Poe. It's like those 2 characters are just, they're just other members of the Resistance, pretty much. That's all they are. They let me put on this light. Now it's better. Yeah, so they're just there to be there, it feels like, you know? They really, I mean, they serve a role, of course, they serve a purpose, but at the end of the day, like, what those characters were in the prior 2 films are gone. Like, completely gone. Especially Finn, man. Like, I was very disappointed in his character, how they written him. I didn't like that at all. So there were certain scenes that just didn't really, I guess how it was edited was just kind of confusing. Like the whole scene with like when they thought Chewbacca was dead, when it was on that desert, when Kylo Ren's army, the First Order, whatever you want to call them, took him on that ship. And then when Rey was she used her Force powers to kind of like prevent the ship from like flying away with Chewbacca. And then Kylo Ren is there at the same time. And then she used her Sith powers to blow up the ship. And then they all thought that Chewie was dead. And like how that whole scene played out, it was kind of weird. I was just like what? Like, yeah, it was weird to me. There are certain scenes like that where it's just like, I was just scratching my head, like, how did this leave the editing room like this? Like, it was just poorly done to me, poorly done. And it just left you like confused, like, wait, like 1 minute Chewie's dead, and then in the next scene they show Chewie alive in the ship, and then they found out that he's actually alive. And yeah, it was just so discombobulated, man. Like, I was scratching my head. Same thing with Leia. Like, Leia's death was the worst. Like, that was like, what the hell was that? I don't even know what the hell that was. You know, when Kylo and Rey was fighting on that ship, and then, you know, pretty much Kylo had her pinned down, had her on it, like, he had it. Death blow. Rey could have been gone, but somehow Leia decided to use her Force powers to kind of telepathically communicate to Kylo Ren, called out his name, he gets distracted, and then I think Rey knocked out his lightsaber from his hand, and then she was able to stab. Like, that, how that whole scene played out was just so awkward. So awkward. And then when Rey stabbed Kylo Ren, and then she's over him, and then she kind of heals him, and then she just like runs away. Like, that whole scene, man, it just made no sense to me. It was just so weird, so awkward. I guess how it was edited and stuff, it was just so jarring, man. Like, it kind of, like, when I saw it the first time, it kind of took me out of the film completely. Seeing it the second time, it didn't really take me out of the film as much. Like, it didn't really like annoy me as much, because I guess I was expecting it, because I saw it already, of course. So I was expecting it. So it didn't really like take me out of the film as much as I saw it the first time. But when you see that whole scene play out, it's just like, what the hell is that? Like, who approved of that? Like that's how Leia dies? Like, seriously? And then going back to the whole Palpatine thing, the whole premise of him being alive this whole time, and him, like, you know, playing the background the whole time, I'm just like, it just felt so cheap to me. Like, they didn't really give no rhyme or reason as how he came back. Like, he just came back, and they just say, oh yeah, you know, Luke had knowledge of him. I guess him being alive the whole time, because Luke had the book of the coordinates to where he was, and Luke knew the whole time that Rey, like, surprise, surprise, Rey is the granddaughter of the Emperor all of a sudden. And it's like, they just had to throw that in there, because in The Last Jedi, they made it seem like her parents was basically nothing. But in this one, her parents was trying to save her from the Emperor, and they threw that whole thing in there, and it's just, it felt tacked on to me. Like, they didn't, like I said, they didn't really give no reason, and they didn't really go in depth on how the Emperor came back. Like, I'm still like, wait, how did he come back? So that's why the whole Palpatine thing doesn't really work in this film, because they just threw him in there just because they felt like they had to throw him in there, just because they just wanted to wash their hands completely of The Last Jedi. They didn't want nothing to do with it. So if you haven't seen, well, this is a spoiler review, so yeah, those of you who already seen it already know what happened. But for people who haven't seen it, man, like, you don't really need to see The Last Jedi to see this film. You could just go into this film and watch it, because everything that happened in The Last Jedi it's not even brung up in this film. Like, they just done away with everything. And I mean, I guess rightfully so, because The Last Jedi kind of ruined the whole Star Wars fan base. So they wanted to kind of like make amends and kind of like you know, right the wrongs, so to say. But the way they did it, I don't know. I feel like maybe they was backed into a corner by Rian Johnson and what he did. So they didn't really have any particular plan that made sense. So they just came up with something to make it seem a little bit more interesting. I don't know. Like the whole Emperor Palpatine thing doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. What would have made this film better, like I said, is if Kylo Ren has gotten a message from some source, like just some entity, some unknown entity that, you know, the movie doesn't reveal, to kill Rey. You know what I mean? Because I think that, like I said, the first 2 acts of the film is pretty good. It is pretty good. I like the whole chase between Rey trying to find the coordinates of this unknown planet, and Kylo Ren is trying to hunt her down to try to prevent her from finding this unknown planet, to trying to find the Emperor. Like, if they would have kept that whole thing like this, I do agree that this should have been 2 movies, because there's a lot of things that should have been fleshed out, especially with the whole Emperor thing, like the whole backstory of the Emperor coming back and stuff like that. That should have been fleshed out a lot more. They should have went into more detail as to how he came back and how he was able to build this big entire army. Now, I know there was years past since the original trilogy and now, but still, it's like, to bring him back, it still feels like they rushed it. And especially when you watch the final act of this movie, it feels rushed. It feels like the whole Palpatine return was pointless, because how he got defeated was just, it was just like, that's it. It's so anticlimactic, And going back to his plans again, his original plan was to kill Rey. And if he killed Rey, he was going to give Kylo Ren everything, pretty much. He was going to give Kylo Ren the Empire. He was going to give Kylo Ren his whole army, his whole new army that he built. He was going to give him, Kylo Ren was going to become the new Emperor. He was going to pretty much control the whole galaxy. Like, that was his original plan. Then when it got to the end, when Rey finally met up with the Emperor, he was like, well, it was revealed before that the Emperor wanted to keep Rey alive. Like, huh? Like, you just said that you wanted to kill her. Now you wanted to keep her alive because your essence of the Sith is in her, pretty much, because she's of his bloodline, because that's his granddaughter. So in essence, he wanted her to kill him so that his essence could go into Rey, so that she could become the new Empress, so that he could be alive again. But then when Kylo Ren meets up with Rey and the Emperor, he basically takes the essence out of both of them and becomes alive again. So why would you want to? It makes no sense. His plans make no sense. He contradicted himself. Like, why would you want to kill Rey when you could have just basically took the powers from Kylo and Rey in the beginning and be alive and become the Emperor again, instead of becoming this dead corpse? You could have just set up a plan to where it's like, okay, I'm gonna just lure Kylo Ren and Rey together, and I'm gonna just take their powers, and I'm gonna just become the Emperor again, instead of having this plan of, oh, I want to kill Rey, but oh no, that wasn't my plan all of us from the beginning. I wanted to keep her alive all this time so that she could kill me, so that my essence would go into her. But then when Kylo Ren comes, no, I'm just gonna take the powers from both of you, and I'm just gonna come. Like, come on, man. Like, it doesn't make no sense. It makes no sense at all. Oh God. I think that really put a damper on this film. That it kind of ruined this whole movie. Like, that last act, I feel like kind of ruined this whole entire film. Because like I said, the first 2 acts is pretty good. It's actually pretty good. And like I said, overall, the movie is not bad. It's not as bad as what everybody is saying. I think it's a good movie. I think it is a good film. But it just have some major problems. And the whole plan of Palpatine does not make any sense whatsoever. It felt rushed. It felt lazy, just to bring him back, just to tack him on, just to say, we got the Emperor back now. Like, hey, you know? And I just didn't like the whole premise of Luke and Leia knowing of his existence this whole time. Now, I understand, like, yeah, like, you know, it wasn't brought up in the prior two films because, you know, Rian Johnson did the last one and he basically did his own thing. So, of course, it wasn't going to be in the last film. But still, man, it just feels like that whole retcon thing of, you know, Luke knowing the coordinates to this unknown planet the whole time and him knowing that Rey was the Emperor's granddaughter the whole time. It doesn't work for me. I'm sorry. It doesn't work for me. That whole thing with Palpatine doesn't work for me. It really doesn't. Because like I said, his plans is just, it's nonsense. It's complete nonsense, and it doesn't make any sense. Like if he could have took the powers from Kylo Ren and Rey the whole time to basically become alive again, why go through all of this? Why go through the whole plan of him dying so that his essence could go to Rey so that she could become the Empress? And then, you know, when he meets up with Kylo, when you basically got them both at your fingertips now, you just basically take their force powers and then you consume it into you, and then you basically become alive. Like, then what is all this between killing Rey and then keeping Rey alive? Like, what is that? Yeah, so I think that's my major gripe with the movie. I feel like the movie could have been a lot better if they didn't have that whole plot line with Palpatine in it. If they would have just kept it at Rey is trying to find this unknown planet because they got intel from a source that there's this unknown planet with this, you know, this mysterious leader or whoever you want to call it. So Rey is trying to track it down, and Kylo Ren has gotten messages from this secret entity. Like, if they would have kept the whole Palpatine Emperor thing a mystery, and if they would have revealed it in another movie, it would have made it much better. Because then the mystery would have been there. The mystery would have been like, well, who is this intel that they're like? Who is this this force or this entity that they're getting this from? You know what I mean? Like, because if they would have kept the whole thing a mystery as Rey is trying to search down the coordinates of this unknown planet, and Kylo Ren is trying to hunt Rey down at the same time to prevent her from getting to this planet, because he needs to kill Rey so that he could become the Emperor, it would have been much better. It would have been a much better film. Like if that was the whole premise. And then the next movie the next movie would have been solely focused on explaining the whole Emperor and his return and how he was able to come back and how he was able to build this big and gigantic army again. Like, if they would have just spent an entire movie just on Palpatine, just trying to flesh out his whole story of his return, it would have worked much better, man, much better. But they try to cram two things into one, and it didn't work. It did not work at all. The final act of this film ruined this movie. It really did. This whole Palpatine thing ruined this whole entire film. Like, his whole presence in this movie was pointless. Completely pointless. Because even when he got defeated in the end, he had just got his powers back, pretty much. He had just became the Emperor, and just like that, he died. Just like that. And all that for, like, it's like all that for nothing. All that for nothing. I know I rambled on about the Palpatine thing. There's still some more things I want to add. But that just really, like, boggles my mind, man. Like, really bothers me. But I digress from that. I'm gonna stray away from that for a second. Another thing, C-3POs, kind of like, I didn't like how they did that either. Because in the beginning of the film, they're trying to find this wayfinder, which is basically like a compass to find the planet that the Emperor's on. So they're trying to find this compass, and pretty much when they get to the desert part, because they need to find they need to find this compass, but they need to find the coordinates on how to get to the compass, pretty much. And they find this dagger. Now, the dagger that they find, Chewie has it. So, this dagger has the coordinates to the compass, and then the compass leads to the planet where the Emperor's at. So when Chewie gets taken away, they don't have the dagger anymore because the dagger, he had the dagger. So they don't have the dagger anymore. So C-3PO is like, well, I have the, well, surprise, surprise, C-3PO reveals that he had the coordinates to the compass the whole time in his head, but he can't translate it out because it's in Sith language. So somebody needs to reprogram C-3PO so that he could translate the message so that they could find out where this compass is. So this whole time when they're trying to find the dagger, C-3PO already had the coordinates this whole time, but they just need to get into his head so that they could decipher the Sith language so that they could find the compass to find out where the planet is. Like, he had the coordinates the whole time. The whole time. So what's the point of trying to find the dagger when they could have just said, oh, okay, let me just try to see if we could find somebody to kind of like, you know, break into his system, you know, break into his memory so that he could basically translate the code for us. So what's this whole mission of trying to go on this desert planet to try to find this dagger so they could, that didn't make no sense. And then the scene where they wipe C-3PO's memory, because in the movie they said that, oh, we have to wipe his memory because when he deciphers the Sith language, his memories would be wiped and he wouldn't remember, you know, Rey, he wouldn't remember Finn, he wouldn't remember anything. So it's like he becomes just brand new again, you know. And like in that scene they kind of make it sad, and like because he like right before they wipe his memory out so that he could get the message of the coordinates of this compass, he's like, I just want to see my friends for one last time. So and they kind of make it seem like, you know, this is the end of C-3PO. But then in the end, they give his R2-D2 gives him his memory back. So what is the whole point of him like going through all of that, like making it all sad and so dramatic, like, oh, this is it, you know, this is it, like, you know, I'm not gonna remember my friends again because my memories are gonna be wiped forever. Because like right before they wipe his memories, they're like, well, can he get his memories back? And they're like, no, he can't get his memories back, you know, because of, you know, I guess the Sith language is like, I don't know, like the Sith language is so hard to decipher. And like, you know, when we crack into his head, crack into his system, so that he could translate the message, it's just gonna wipe everything out of his memory, and he can't get it back. So they make it seem like this is the end of C-3PO, like, you know, basically what C-3PO remembers, he's not gonna remember anymore. He's got to learn everything again. So they kind of make it seem like this is it for C-3PO. But then in the end, he gets his memory back. Like, yeah, this film has major problems. And oh, there was one scene when Rey finally finds the Wayfinder, when Rey finally finds the compass. There's this other version of Rey. Like, they don't even go into detail how this version of Rey came to be. Like, who is this other version of Rey? They fight for like 5 seconds and then she just disappears. She doesn't show up. She doesn't even show up after, like, she doesn't show up for the rest of the film. She shows up in that one small scene and that's it. So who is this other version of Rey? Like, where the heck did she come from? Like, is that a clone of Rey? Like I'm lost for words, man, because that whole scene, it was just like, where the hell did she come from all of a sudden? I know she was in the trailers and whatnot, but still, they didn't go into depth on where this character came from. She just came out of nowhere. Like, came out of nowhere with a red lightsaber, and she has like this vampire-like teeth or whatever, and she has like the cloak and everything. And like I said, she's basically, I guess she's like a clone of Rey. I don't know, like a Force Ghost of Rey. I don't know what the heck this thing is. I don't know. They didn't go into the whole dark Rey thing, I guess, if you want to call it that, but I don't know what this is. I don't know what that thing is. And she never shows up again throughout the entirety of the film. She just shows up in that one scene and that's it. No character, like, who is she? We don't know. We probably would never know who that is. And I want to get into Kylo Ren, because Kylo Ren bothers me as a character, man. Because in one aspect, I really like this character a lot. Like, when he has when he's doing like the first 2 acts of the film, I really like Kylo Ren a lot, because that's when you see him as a villain. He's hunting down Rey. He wants to kill Rey so that he can become the Emperor, because he's gonna get, because Palpatine promised him, yo, if you kill Rey, I'm gonna give you everything. So he's trying to hunt down Rey so he can become the new Emperor. Like, that's his whole mission, to hunt down Rey and to kill Rey. And then the scene where they're actually fighting, and he has Rey pinned down, what happens? He gets Leia, his mother, telepathically communicates with him and calls out his name, and then he gets distracted, and then he becomes Big Softy Ben Solo again. Like, this whole dynamic, this whole shift between him being Kylo Ren and him trying to be this bad guy, and then on the other end, he's, this whole inner conflict between Kylo Ren and Ben Solo, I really don't like it. I really don't, man. He's trying to be this new Darth Vader, but he's really not. Deep down, he's Ben Solo, man. He's Han Solo's son. That's who he is. He has a lot of compassion. He has a lot of feelings. He has a lot of feelings for Rey. He doesn't hate Rey at all, And especially when he sees Han Solo, like that whole scene too, like him seeing Han Solo out of nowhere like that. I mean, was that a vision? Was that Han Solo's Force Ghost? Where did this vision come from? I don't know. Han Solo just pops up out of nowhere and tells him, Kylo Ren is dead, Ben Solo is alive, and he's thrown he throw his lightsaber away, basically giving up the whole Kylo Ren thing. And that whole scene of just Han Solo just popping up out of nowhere, it just doesn't make no sense at all, because he just pops up and then you're like, where the hell did he come from? Like, is he a Force Ghost? Is he is this a memory of Kylo Ren? Like, what is that? So at the end of the day, man, I'm gonna just wrap it up right now. I think I rambled on about this film a little bit too long, but at the end of the day, it's not a bad movie. It's a good movie, but it has some major problems. The first time when I watched it, I had a lot more problems with it than I watched it the second time. Second time when I watched it, I actually liked it a little bit more. The first 2 acts of the film are the more solid acts of the movie. The third act really ruins this movie. A lot. And I felt like it prevents it from being a really good film. So overall, my thoughts on this film, I'm glad I saw it. I'm glad I saw it twice, actually. I'm really glad that I made the decision to see it again. Because there were some things that I missed. Still unanswered questions. And yeah, it's not as bad as what everybody's making it out to be. Like, people are saying, oh, this film is so trash, and Jeremy John said this is the worst out of all the Star Wars movies, and I'm like, that, I feel like people are, making videos like that to, how the whole YouTube clickbait thing works, and I think, people are kind of feeding into the whole negativity thing, and people are trying to, just get clicks and views and stuff like that. I'm not saying that everybody is doing it for clicks and views. I know there are a lot of people who genuinely feel that this movie is trash, but there are some of those who are just saying that this movie is trash and just trying to play up this movie as being trash just to get clicks and views on YouTube, because drama sells and negativity sells. So they got to play up that whole thing to get clicks and views. For some people, that's what it is. But to me, this movie is not a bad movie at all. It's actually it's a good movie, man. It's good. It's good. Will I see it again in the future? I probably will. I mean, it will be a very, very long time before that happens. But if one day I'm on the airport or something and it's on, and I forgot nothing to do, I'll probably watch it again. Because like I said, it's not a bad movie. I do like it, but it's just it's certain things that bothers me with this movie where I'm like, this doesn't make no sense. This feels tacked on. This really has no point. So just some of the decisions that they made for this movie is, I don't know if they felt like they was backed into a corner and they felt like they had to just pull something out of their ass just to make things a little bit better. and this is the best that they could do. You know, I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, but as to how this movie stands now, I don't feel like this film will bring the Star Wars community back together. I feel like this movie will keep the Star Wars fan base separated. And the whole nature of Star Wars right now, it needs a rest. It needs a break. Like, I'm glad that they're gonna take like a 3-year hiatus before they make a new film, because they need a new direction, man. Kathleen Kennedy, she has to take the brunt of the blame for this, because they went into this whole trilogy thing with no plan at all, and that is bullshit. Like, you don't go into a trilogy with no plan. Like, she went into this whole trilogy idea thing with no plan at all whatsoever. And J.J. Abrams needs part of the blame too, because he should have signed on to direct all 3 of the Star Wars new trilogy. But he just kind of wanted to do one, and then like they brung him back because the other person that they had, he kind of signed out. So he was like, oh, I'm gonna just do this one. And then, you know, trying to right the wrongs of The Last Jedi. I think I guess they did their best, but what we have is just, I guess they gave it their best effort, but still, they just left a lot to be desired, a lot of unanswered questions, a lot of things, some things feel rushed. Like, it's like, well, we got to make a last movie, and we got to throw some things in there to make it interesting, so let's just go for a Hail Mary, man, and just see what happens. And maybe they tried their best, and this is what they could come up with. I don't know. But it's for a great franchise like Star Wars to end like this is kind of disappointing, because this franchise has such a great story. It's the lore. It's so deep. It's so deep on many levels. Like, the whole Star Wars universe is so big, man. It's so big, and you have such great iconic characters, and for it to be mishandled like this, like the whole trilogy to be mishandled like this, it's sad. It's like having a star player on your team. Like, it's like having a star team, like just having a great team, and you just don't know what to do with it. You just, like, the coach doesn't know what to do with this team. The general managers don't know what to do with this team, and the whole team just it can't win championships because upper management and the coaching staff is just not there for this team. And I feel like that's the problem with Star Wars right now. You have the people who's running Star Wars, they're not Star Wars fans. They're business people. You know what I mean? So some of the decisions that they're making is not for the better of the Star Wars story in its entirety. It's to make money. You know what I mean? It's not to progress the story. It's not to make the story better. It's just to put more money in Disney's pockets. And like I said, you have people who's trying to run the show, and they don't know what the hell they're doing. The people who's running Star Wars right now, Kathleen Kennedy and the other people who's helping her run it, they have no idea what they're doing. No idea whatsoever. The only saving grace that Star Wars has right now is The Mandalorian. That's the only thing that's keeping Star Wars of interest. And that is sad to say. Because like I said, for a great franchise like this film should have been much better. Like, this whole the whole sequel trilogy should have been much better. This should have been a solid trilogy, man. This should have been a solid trilogy. But it fell flat on his face, and it just ended up being a big disappointment, and it ended up being a big mess. A big mess. And to see the Star Wars community so divided, just so in a muck, it's a mess right now. And for a great franchise like Star Wars to kind of end like this, it is disappointing. It is. Because it should have been much better. It should have been much better at the end of the day. But like I said, when you have businessmen running a franchise like this, that's why they had to bring Kevin Feige in. I mean, well, I don't think he's in yet, but there, I guess, well, yeah, I think he's gonna be directing the new Star Wars film that comes out in like the next 3 years. So he's gonna like take the helms of kind of running the new Star Wars movies in the future. To my knowledge, I think. But yeah, they need somebody like him, man. They need somebody like him, because right now the life of Star Wars right now, it's I wouldn't want to say it's not dead completely, but it's on life support, man. It feels like it's on life support, especially with the fan base. Like, there's so many people that checked out of Star Wars. Like, they're not interested in Star Wars at all. Like I said, you do have those passionate Star Wars fans who are still trying to keep Star Wars alive, and you know, they want to be excited about Star Wars again, and they just want the positivity to be back in Star Wars and want to be excited for Star Wars again. And you know, you do have those fans, but the vast majority of them has checked out already, man. They're already checked out, and Star Wars right now is not in a good state. It's not in a good state at all. And Kathleen Kennedy, she needs to go. She definitely needs to go. And a lot of the problems that happen with the whole sequel trilogy falls right on her feet. Right on her feet. And I know her contract is up in 2021, and they need to bring somebody new in. They need to bring somebody who knows about Star Wars in and out. And I think that's why The Mandalorian works, because they got Jon Favreau and that Filoni dude who's worked on Star Wars before. You need people like that to progress the story. You need people like that to make these Star Wars stories better again. That's who you need. You don't need business people in suits. You need fans. You need people who knows and loves Star Wars to control the Star Wars narrative. Because when you have that, you're going to have great stories. That's why The Mandalorian works. When you put the right people in positions, you're going to see success. I mean, look at Kevin Feige in the MCU. I don't even have to say anything. You already know what that dude did. Because he had a vision, he had a plan. Kathleen Kennedy did not have a plan. It's the same problem that Warner's is having right now. Warner Brothers don't have a plan. And this, they just need they need a reset. They need a restart. So I'm glad that this trilogy is over, and now they have time to, you know, redevelop and just start anew again. Maybe they need to do away with the whole trilogy thing and do it like MCU. I've heard that that's what they're gonna do. There's news that's saying that they're gonna just do away with the whole trilogy kind of setup and just go for a more MCU style of approach, which I feel like it's a good idea. It's a good idea, but they need something, man. Like Star Wars, it needs something. It needs the life needs to be pumped back into this franchise again, because there's something there right now that's it's just dead. I feel like the soul of Star Wars, like there's a big part of Star Wars right now that's just dead, and it killed a lot of the love that a lot of people have for Star Wars are gone now. It's gone. And me, I'm not a diehard Star Wars fan. I'm more of a general fan. But looking at it from like the outside in, I guess you could say, it's sad to see. It's sad. It's very sad to see. And I hope that, you know, this franchise could get back on its feet again. I hope that, you know, these movies could be much better than what it is. Because what we got, there's no excuse for this, man. There's really no excuse. And like I said, the person who should get the blame for this is Kathleen Kennedy. This is it all falls on her feet. I'm sorry, but it all falls on her feet. She didn't know what the hell she was doing, man. This whole thing it's been a mess, and it's been a mistake. So that's my review, man. That's my thoughts on the movie. Glad I saw it twice, and I've been long-winded. I'm hungry, so I'm gonna get something to eat. So yeah, I'm gonna end it from here, and so my next one, man, I still don't have an outro.